This video is on some methods that we can use when we're working with our square roots. So, method number one, or methods overall, are things like strategies. There are starting points for doing stuff, and they allow us to check our work and really think through, does this make sense? So when you get stuck, when you're doing square roots, your first step should be to read the problem. If you don't know what to do, make sure you fully read through the problem, you understand what's being asked of us, of you, and you can acknowledge what needs to happen, okay? Number two, highlight key information. This shouldn't be a new strategy for you. This is a strategy you can use in history class, in English class, in science classes, right? Highlighting that key information in the problem. What kind of things do you know? What kind of things do you need to focus on? Okay. Read over your notes. We have lots of notes on solving square roots. Make sure you take a look at your notes, look at those steps to solving and things like that. And then look at examples. You have examples. We've done lots of these problems. And even if you haven't done a lot of them, look up examples or ask your teacher or someone in your class if you can look over them. Okay, really thinking through what is it that I'm looking at and seeing. And then your last step is to write what you do know. If you don't know how to do something, like you don't know what the prime factorization of a number is, but you do know what the word prime means, or you know what a factorization means, write what you do know, because the more information you can get out there of what you do know, the easier it is to piece together the things that you don't know. So those are my 5 tips for when you get stuck generally. When you are specifically solving square roots, step number 1 is to write the prime factorization. These steps should not be new, but you might not have them written down. Step 1 is writing that prime factorization. Step number 2 is to write the factorization under the radical. So you take your prime factorization tree and you write it under the radical or the square root sign. Next, you're going to pair up the pairs. Any number that there are 2 of, you're going to write as that number times that number. Remember, pairs don't have 3, they don't have 4, they don't have 1, they just are groups of 2. After you pair up the pairs, rewrite the pairs as squares. Remember, squares are things to the second power. So even if there are 2 pairs of 3, you would write 3 to the 2 times 3 to the 2 in order for them to be squares. Okay, keeping that 2 as an exponent. And then you take out the base of the squares. Anything that is in a square that does not need to be in the square, or that can be taken out, you're going to cross out that exponent, cross out the radical, and take out the number that's the base of that exponent. Put it out outside the radical. Strategies for prime factorization. If you're getting stuck during your prime factorization, some things that could help you. Divide, don't multiply. Instead of focusing on trying to multiply 2 numbers till you hit your target number, do the opposite. The opposite of multiplication is division. So you take whatever number your target number is, say it's 100, and instead of trying to multiply different combinations to hit 100, take 100, divide it by, and then try different options. When you take that division, it allows you to be much more precise, and you can see what you want. Okay? Check up to 20. If all you're doing is trying to multiply numbers and you get all the way up to the number 20, chances are, right, you do 100 divided by 1, 100 divided by 2, 100 divided by 3, 100 divided by 4, all the way up to 20. If you get to 20 and you still do not have a number that comes down as a whole number, that's a pretty good sign that maybe it's a prime number. Okay, if you're having to divide numbers bigger than that, it's probably a prime number. Not always, but probably. Okay. And next is to use smart guesses. When you are guessing what those numbers are, make sure that you are checking good guesses. Guesses that are intentional. And so some of our smart guesses are the number 2. 2 is a great guess because every single even number is divisible by 2. So there's a ton of numbers out there. Half the numbers are divisible by 2. Next is 3. Some of those odd numbers that aren't divisible by 2 are still going to be divisible by 3. It's a small number, it's a prime number, and it goes into a lot of things. And finally, 5. 5 is going to take care of those numbers that end in 5. There are very few numbers that are divisible by, or that end in a 5 that are divisible by 3, but there are lots that are divisible by 5. So that's a good number. So those are 3 numbers I would suggest starting with if you get stuck. Next, strategies for simplifying. If you're not sure where your simplifying goes, reorder the numbers under the radical. Sometimes you'll get a prime factorization that has pairs, but if they're not written next to each other, it's hard to see that they are a pair. So write your numbers under the radical with all the numbers of one kind in a group. Cross out that exponent of 2. That's what that little upside down V means. It's the exponent of 2. Cross that out and the square root sign. When you're physically crossing through both of those things, it helps you to remember that they're canceling each other out, that they're opposite in actions, they're canceling each other out, and that your result is going to be influenced by that. Okay? And then circle the base. Circle whatever number was being taken to the second power. When you are able to circle it, it helps you to focus on what it is that you are going to have to take out, so you can really refocus yourself. The last section on your paper says, what is a method for? This is a space where you can write anything that you don't know how to do, or where is it that you get stuck? When you look at a problem, you've done all these things, where is it that you get stuck? Okay? And part of that is it's opening up the opportunity for you to talk with your classmates about, I get stuck when I am at this point. What do you do at this point? And you can write some methods of your own. So this is a category or an area that you can grow as you need.